Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's that time. It is Sunday night, October 3rd at 8:30 p.m. We are ready for our live stream show. Hopefully you guys are ready for a great show tonight. We're going to be talking all about nearshore, offshore fishing, giving away free trips, and answering your questions live during the show, and talking about what's coming up, what's biting now, and talking also about the exciting news that was announced. So great stuff lined up for you tonight here during our Hubbard's Marina live stream show. This show happens every Sunday night right here on our Hubbard's Marina Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube channels. Plus, we stream live to the Real Animals Facebook page too. If you haven't checked out the Real Animals yet, please do so. Give their page a like on Facebook. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube. That would be a huge help to me, and I'd appreciate it. So we're going to get started off tonight. First things first, hopefully everybody has heard about the big news that was announced this past week. We've had the announcement come out that red snapper season has been extended. That's right, red snapper season has been extended. That starts October 15th and runs until end of day November 5th. So we've got red snapper season extended. We've got tons of added 39-hour trips, 12-hour extreme trips. Great opportunities to get out there on the water, catch some of those red snapper. Plus, lane snapper has been announced to close, but keep in mind they are still open until end of day, I believe, October 16th. So we've got time to catch those lane snapper, and we are crushing them on our 10-hour all days, 12-hour night snapper trips. The 12-hour night snapper trip that went out this past Friday, they had 18 people. That's it, 18 people. They caught 125 keeper lane snapper, 33 mangrove snapper. They caught strawberry grouper, vermilion snapper, gray snapper, or white grunts. It was a great trip with plenty of action, so definitely still plenty of fish to catch while you're out there on the water. And red snapper season is going to be opening up as those lane snapper come to a close. And then on the backside of red snapper season, gag groupers should be biting a lot better as that water cools off. So definitely plenty left for the remainder of the year. And at the start of next year, we're going to be heading out deep and targeting those red grouper January 1st. So the closers stink, but it kind of splits up our fishing seasons in such a way to where we're going to be really focused near shore over the next 2-3 weeks, targeting lane snapper before they close, mangrove snapper as they migrate offshore, kingfish are here, mackerel are here. We've definitely been doing well out there. And then once red snapper season opens, we're going to be focused deeper, going after those red snapper, the occasional gag, grouper, and amberjack are open till the end of October too. And then once red snapper season closes around November 5th, we're going to transition more towards that gag grouper hunt. We've got the kingfish going to be biting really well in November there. So plenty of fish on the backside of red snapper season. And then they should reopen lanes sometime before the end of the year. It's just a matter of when. I've heard as early as mid-November, but it could be as late as sometime in December. But lane snapper will reopen whenever NOAA is finally able to implement the rule that was voted on in January. We're not going to get started on that, though. We've talked enough about that. Appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us tonight. Hopefully you guys have some questions for us. Don't forget, if you do have a question, you have to text us your questions. I had a few people kind of getting frustrated that we weren't answering their questions that were typed into the comments. I can only see about maybe 10, 15 comments, and then they disappear. We get over 1,000 comments during these live shows. So if you comment on the video, I appreciate it, but I'm not going to see your comments all the time. So if you have a question, you have to text us in to that phone number. That's why it's on the screen. That phone number down there, 727-393-1947. That is the phone number you text to get your question answered live during the show. So make sure you do that if you want your question answered live during the show. Larry White, appreciate those stars. I know some people sent stars earlier. I saw Richard Blazak, Mr. Solowski. I saw some others send stars too, so I appreciate everybody getting us started on the stars. What's up to our YouTube watchers? We got Mark Thomason, Tyler Fishing, Steve Olofsson, Rick Hill, Ivan Diaz, Noah Fisher. Appreciate you guys hanging out on YouTube. What's going on Facebook? Pat Brown, Phil Battisto, Garrick Young, Rodney Coring. Appreciate you guys all hanging out with us and enjoying our Sunday night live stream show. Don't forget to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That enters you for a chance to win those free trips. You can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Instagram. You can watch on the Real Animals Facebook page, but you have to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. With that, let's get into our video or our photos and show you guys what we've been seeing this week around the area. Definitely been seeing some nice mangrove snapper, and this young angler was super happy. This is Jay's son. I believe it said his name was Carson. I can't remember off the top of my head. But happy young angler catching some mangrove snapper, and he caught a snook too, fishing with his dad there over on the docks. And definitely seeing a lot of those mangrove snapper in the Back Bay waters. We've been seeing a ton of redfish lately. Redfish bite's been going. Hey, he's wearing the same shirt I'm wearing right now. Redfish bite's been going really well lately. We've been seeing a lot of John's Pass was choked with redfish. Now it's choked with red tide, unfortunately. So all these fish have moved out of John's Pass. But luckily, Tampa Bay is pretty much clear of the red tide, and waters to our south look beautiful. I was out on the boat Saturday with my son and my daughter. My daughter's first cruise in the boat, actually, was this past Saturday. She's not even 3 months old, and she went cruising to Shell Key, and we went to the sandbar, and we're hunting sand dollars. It was pretty cool. Where was I going with that? Oh, let's talk about water quality. It was beautiful. Once we got south of Corey Causeway Bridge, from Corey Causeway Bridge all the way through to like Paso Grill, it was gorgeous. Once we got into Paso Grill Channel, you got just hit with this wall of red tide, and you felt it. You started coughing, and once we got out of Paso Grill, it was not as bad. It started to clear up. Water was a little weird colored around Bunce's Pass, but it definitely, you didn't feel it. You weren't hacking up along, and got in the water, swam. It was a good time, but there's patches of it, and when you get into those patches, it definitely gets thick. But the redfish action is going well in the bay where you find those clear water areas. Early morning is best, but you can find them through the daytime too. Soft plastic paddle tails are king. Live shrimp also working very well as well. We've been seeing some snook working those dock lines. They're definitely kind of staging up, moving more towards the back bays. So dock lines are starting to heat up for the snook. A lot of these juvenile snook around the flats and mangrove shorelines still. And the bigger fish are definitely stacking up more towards the structure, getting more structure oriented. Trout are starting to transition too. They're getting a little shallower as that water chills out. So definitely interesting to see those fish already kind of adjusting to their fall patterns. I was joking around the other day. Florida doesn't really have necessarily the typical seasons. We've got summer, where it's just hot and the fish act a certain way, and then we've got hurricane season where those fish are transitioning, and then we've got the cold kind of what you would call wintertime or cold front seasons where fish really kind of fluidly move with that cold front action, and they get real excited leading up to a front, and then During the front, they kind of shut down, and then after the front, they pick back up. Snook, on the other hand, even during the front, snook seemed to get excited. Bad weather really gets snook feeding well. Same thing with sheep's head. Sheep's head are another species that during the front inshore, they seem to bite well too. So those are two unique ones, I guess you could say. This one, speaking of unique, this is unique. This is a rainbow runner, and that is a monster rainbow runner. You don't see them that big too often. Catching a lot of those red grouper. We're having to catch and release, unfortunately, but the hogfish bite's picking up. We're starting to see hogfish more and more often on our 5-hour half days, 10-hour all days. So definitely picking up those hogfish. And once the friendly fisherman comes back for dry dock, which should be not this week, next week, it should be back in operation. So next week we should see those 10-hour all days really transitioning to targeting those hogfish. Been seeing some nice scamp grouper. Obviously some more red grouper. Now some amberjacks still are around. Amberjack season, like I said, does not close until end of October. So we still got some time left for those amberjack. This is an Almaco jack. We're seeing those Almaco jacks too. So lots of fish still out there to catch, out there in deep water even. And now this is an interesting story. So I got to give you some background here. These two young anglers came into town with their mother and father, and they were so excited to obviously go to Disney World, but they wanted to go fishing. So mom and dad brought them over to our area after visiting Disney World, and they were so excited to go fishing, but they were super frustrated that they could not go on the 12-hour extreme with their parents, because their parents were excited to go fishing too. So their parents went out in the 12-hour extreme, had a great time, caught a lot of fish. They enjoyed it, but kids couldn't go. So I saw them the next day, and the kids were all upset that they didn't get to go fishing, and they really wanted to go out. So then the following, I think it was Wednesday, they went out in the extreme, and then Friday, Thursday, the parents came down, had to book their kids on the 5-hour half day, and then Friday they went out in the 5-hour half day. And check out this video. Just made the wait. What happened to the video? Josh, help me out. Josh is gonna pull up the video. I thought it would just. Oh, it was the next one. I should have clicked one more. Duh. All right, I'll bring us back to Pip. You might have to play it with VLC. Hold on, technical difficulties. But they were so excited. They finally got to go out in the half day, and Smokey hooked him up on the way offshore, caught him a nice trophy. There it is. Can we get desktop audio? Stop turning the handle.
Yeah, don't stop. Just keep cranking.
Look at that. British mackerel. Look. Turn around. He's going to take a picture. Turn around, Peyton. Look.
That's awesome.
Good job, buddy. Hey, get your brother in there.
Get your brother. Go in there. Go over there. Go. Turn around.
That's what it's all about. That is really cool. Definitely enjoyed seeing that video. So they finally got to go out in the half day is the moral of the story. And then Smokey got them on that nice mackerel, and it made their trip. So they were all pumped up about it and hooked on fishing, to say the least. Blackfin tuna too. We've been seeing more blackfin tuna. Blackfin tuna bites really starting to pick up as that water starts to cool. Definitely excited about that. Going out on the 12-hour extreme on the Flying Hub 2 myself tomorrow, and hoping to catch some flatline blackfin tuna. Maybe a wahoo. Who knows? Been catching a few gag grouper here and there. Definitely seeing the gag grouper still. And then, of course, the red groupers, unfortunately, are being caught and released, but won't be too long until we'll be able to keep those red grouper once again come January 1st. So Carrie King, I'm glad you guys are watching. Yes. Yeah, Carrie and her husband were the mother and father I was referring to. I didn't want to use names in case you guys weren't watching, but hey, you're watching, so I guess you can give out your own name, I guess. But yeah, definitely awesome to see your kids have such a good time, Carrie. Appreciate you guys all coming out and joining us at Hubbard's Marina. Don't forget about our online store. The online store has launched. We've added a bunch of products to it. It's definitely going really, really well. The kingfish are around. Like I said, we caught a ton of those kingfish recently. Not a ton, but we caught a handful of kingfish recently, and it should only get better and better. Red tide kind of pushed that bait out. So we had the kingfish like 3-4 miles off the beach, and then all of a sudden they kind of backtracked a little bit on us, but we're hoping that they'll come right back as that red tide kind of changes around. Robert Holshouser, appreciate those stars, man. Jim Evans, thank you, buddy. The kingfish are around, and then 12-hour night snapper crushed the fish. We talked about that. Don't forget about our YouTube subscribers page. That's launched. So if you're not on Facebook and you've wanted to get in on the supporters shirt and be a part of the supporters group, we do have the YouTube supporters option. So now you can join the supporters group on Facebook or the supporters group on YouTube. And either way, you get that free supporters shirt. Should have probably 5 solid days of around 2-foot seas or less. And temperatures are more moderate. It's not so humid out here, so definitely a good time to get out in the water. Don't forget to check us out on Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. We've really started to use those social media tools more heavily. We've also obviously got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and new videos coming at you. So tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're going out in the Flying Hub 2 with our new film crew from Simply Affordable Marketing, and we are going to be filming a ton of videos. That is 12 hours. We're going to be out on the boat on the Flying Hub 2. We're going to be filming more videos, updated videos on double snell rigs, rigging baits, tips and tricks. Got a variety of captains and crew on the boat, so I'm hoping to trick a few of them into doing some videos with me, and we might even teach you guys how to shotgun beers. Who knows? It's going to be a good time. So definitely looking forward to tomorrow and enjoying some time out in the water for myself. It's kind of sad. I got to plan a filming advertising trip to give myself a chance to go fishing for fun, but hey, it is what it is. We are going to get a ton of videos done. That is the justification behind tomorrow. So someone tell my management staff and everybody else that I'm working tomorrow. That's what I'm doing. I'm not going fishing. I'm going working. It is time to give away a free trip. Let's see who won our first free trip of the night. We're going to give away a 10-hour all day for 2 guests. That's a $218 value. Let's see. Oh, before we do that, remember, if you're picked as a lucky winner, you got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip by texting that phone number over there in the corner. That phone number. You got to text it within 5 minutes or less to prove you are watching live. So make sure you do so quickly. We want to give you the free trip, but we want to make sure you're watching live to make it fair to everybody else. So let's see who won that 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Coming at you now. I'm not even going to try. So,
Solomar?
I'm going to say Mr. or Mrs. Sanchez. You won your 10-hour all day. There they are. All right, somebody knows who won. Don't forget to claim your free trip. All right, let's move on here. What other question? I think that was all the announcements I have. Oh, events coming up. Important events coming up. We've got October 13th, Wednesday, October 13th, we've got our Fat Cat Fishing Club seminar. That is, again, the meeting starts at 6 p.m., seminar starts at 7. That's Wednesday, October 13th at Fat Cat Tavern. Saturday, October 23rd, we've got the Tampa Bay Fishing Club cleanup from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. out there at the Gandy Bridge. Saturday, October 23rd. Tuesday, October 26th, we've got the Real Animals Fishing Conversation. I won't be there for that event. I'll be in Orange Beach, Alabama at a National Marine Fisheries meeting, but Cap Mike will be there with a great guest talking fishing. Highly recommend it. And there'll be Facebook Live streaming to the Real Animals Facebook page. And then Thursday, November 11th, is your chance to have dinner with me. Free booze. It's an open bar. There's going to be a steak dinner. They're going to be doing silent auctions, raffling off firearms. It's a great time. That is at the CCA Pinellas Banquet at the Gulfport Casino Thursday, November 11th. Hopefully you can join us for that event. Hubbard's Marina will have a table at that event where a bunch of our captains and crew will be joining. And then I'll be there, and they'll be raffling off a chance to sit at the captain's table with me, and we'll get lobster and steak. It's going to be awesome. So firearms, lobster, and steak, and booze.
And Dylan.
And fishing. It's going to be awesome. So hopefully you can join us for that event too. And with that, Josh, let's get into some questions. Let's see what questions we got. What's going on with the sand issue? Any news on the sand issue? So recently, we had a meeting in which the conclusion from the $35,000 study that we had to pay $10,000 for concluded, and the big scientific findings were we need a dredge. Dum, dum, dum. Really? I had no idea that dredging would solve the sand issue. And the dredge is going to cost anywhere from $1.2 to $2 million, and it should last approximately 15 years. So $2 million, and it's supposedly going to last 15 years. We've been working on this issue for now nearly 30 years to get to the point where someone made us spend $10,000 for a scientist to tell us what we already knew. Great stuff, how government works, folks. This is a prime example of why we have the issues we have today. But yes, I know, Josh, no politics. He's got a sign now. He holds it up like, stop it, Dylan.
Nope, next, let's go. Come on. If you guys want more information, you guys can sign up for the Supporters Only show, and we'll go into more depth there. Okay, so remember, $4.99, you guys get a free T-shirt, Supporters Only after.
And you can hear me go on my rants, uncontrolled. Andy Wilson, appreciate those stars. I'm bringing my boys down for a 39-hour. What month would be the best month for fish, February or March? Doesn't change too much February to March. Pretty much same weather. Fishing doesn't change really too much. The weather changes kind of fishery trends. So February to March, weather doesn't change too much, so fishing doesn't change too much. More so dictated by seasons, and seasons don't change too much between January, February, and March. What we do have is the deep water closure. So I would suggest if you're thinking January, February, March, I would go more towards January or wait until April. If you're thinking 39-hour, just because we have more flexibility in those months. February and March, we still catch a ton of fish, and there's lighter loads because the deep water closure scares a lot of people away. But it doesn't affect us because we just fish right alongside those lines and still catch plenty of fish. Paul Carteau, appreciate those stars. Thanks, man. Let's see here. Is it okay to fish off the dock at Hubbard's Marina? Yeah. Anytime our office is open and our dock is unlocked, you're welcome to fish off our dock as long as we're not actively loading or unloading a boat, and as long as we're not having any issues with cleanliness or people catching pelicans, we don't mind. But if we have someone who's causing problems, not obeying fishery regulations or hooking pelican after pelican, we do tend to have issues with that. But we are the last and only dock inside Johns Pass that allows fishing. And I take a lot of heat for that. The dinner boat at our dock hates that we allow people to fish off our dock. That's why they fenced off the end of the dock. You're not allowed to fish at the end of the dock where the dinner boat is because they don't like fishing or fishermen on the dock or fisher ladies. And if it was up to them, they would close it. Landlord doesn't necessarily love that we allow people to fish on the dock because of the added liability. We are the only dock in Johns Pass that allows it, and we work really hard to keep it open. But we're strict about it for that reason, because we want it to stay open. And if you're acting a fool, not being courteous, or making a mess, we will have to ask you to leave. So keep that in mind. Is there good fishing this week from the Skyway Fishing Pier? So I am not an expert in all things Skyway Fishing Pier, but the Skyway Fishing Club, Skyway Fishing Club, I think it is definitely a good place to go for all things Skyway. And if you haven't done so already, Josh, I'm going to take the mouse real quick. If you haven't done so already, you guys got to check this out, because this is my secret weapon. All right, can you spell it? Because I can't spell. Josh is pulling it up. So part of Salt Strong is they have this thing called Smart Fishing Tides, and it is what? My screen? I can't share my screen. I got to log in first. Can you log me in, dog? Yeah, I got to log in to show the peoples. It should be saved. Oh, you're not logged in as me in Google Chrome. You're going to have to PDoc it. I don't think it's that one. So as Josh pulls that up, basically what it's called is Smart Fishing Tides. So there's this thing called Tides for Fishing, which is free. A lot of people know about Tides for Fishing, and it kind of tells you when fish are biting best through the day when you're looking at the tides. But Smart Fishing Tides is a product that Salt Strong puts out. So if you're a Salt Strong member, you have access to the Smart Fishing Tides, and I'll show you an insider peek to Smart Fishing Tides. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for it. But it's really, really, really cool. And basically it'll give you a 2-week at-a-glance view of every day, and it will rate the day 1 out of 10. And then if you click on the day that you're going fishing, it will rate the hours 1 out of 10 as far as the best time to fish. So let's say you've only got a couple days that you're free. You can take a look at that website and pick the best day to go. And then during that day, you can pick the best time to go. It's really, really cool. And it's all based on weather and tides and what everything's doing, all the variables. They take all the guesswork out of it, and there's an algorithm behind the scenes that give you those numbers. And let me tell you, it's pretty accurate. I use it a lot when I'm fishing inside Johns Pass for snook. If the strike score, as they call it, isn't very high, I don't bother wasting my time, because I know the salooner's not there. I know those fish aren't going to be feeding as well. When the strike score is like 8 or more, I'll go out there and drop a line, because I know my chances of being successful are extremely high. So let me show you, now that Josh got us all signed in here, Smart Fishing Tides. So you asked about the Skyway Fishing Pier. So I believe the closest one, let's call it, we'll do this one. So Mullet Key Skyway is, so let me zoom in so you can see those scores. So that is where you see the strike score calendar. And you can see here this week is actually really, really good because of that new moon Tuesday. They're forecasting very good fishing today, Monday, Tuesday, all the way through the week, and then behind the new moon. Now you notice, this is a really cool example, the 1 to 2 days previous to the new moon, best score, and then about 2 to 3 days after, best score. On the full moon, on the new moon, fishing is a lot of the times not as good as 1 to 2 days previous and 2 to 3 days following. That holds true for new or full moon. And look at that, the scores prove it. So to answer your question, fishing looks great this week. And we're going to look at Monday, tomorrow. If you scroll down here, it'll tell you the tides, and then this is really cool. So during the day, Monday, there's an overall score of 8, but from 6 a.m. to basically 9 a.m. and from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. is going to be the peak feeding times with the best fishing. And you can see that correlates to, it looks like, the start of the incoming tide. And that's been holding true anywhere you fish, whether it's John's Pass or the Skyway. The start of the incoming tide recently has been the best bites because we've had red tide in the area, we've had warmer waters in the area, and that start of the incoming tide brings an influx of that cooler Gulf water. So water temperatures drop a little bit, you get more condensed oxygen in the water. Those fish come alive with that influx of moving water and more oxygen and cooler temperatures, and they feed a lot better. So in John's Pass, in Blinds Pass, in Clearwater Pass, around the Skyway, the start of the incoming tide has, over the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks, almost the whole summer, been the best time to target those fish. So definitely keep that in mind this week. And to answer your question, fishing looks great around the Skyway this week. And thank you, Salt Strong, for hopefully not kicking me out of the club for showing behind the scenes proprietary information. But it's really cool, and that's worth being a Salt Strong member right there, having access to smart fishing tides in my mind. It also has a radar on it. It's got a bunch of other cool stuff too. I only showed you my 2 favorite portions. One of the coolest things they do is every Thursday they have an insider club meeting, and they basically tell you Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon sometime, they hold a little live webinar that's like, hey, this is what's going on this weekend, this is what you need to look for, this is what you need to target, this is going to help you be the most successful on the water. So Salt Strong's pretty cool. I just shared, or Josh just shared the link to our mastery courses. If you go there, there is an option to become a member, and when you become a member through that link, you also get the 3 courses that we filmed with Salt Strong absolutely free. So you get a year membership plus the Mangrove Snapper Mastery course, Red Snapper Mastery course, and Grouper Snapper or Grouper Mastery course. So really, really cool way to get all the courses and a year membership through that link that we just shared in the YouTube and Facebook comments. So with that, Josh, let's pull up our next question. What is the expected date Friendly comes out of dry dock? Well, the Friendly went into the water yesterday. Dave Decatur, appreciate those stars, man. You rock. The Friendly Fisherman went back into the water yesterday up in Tarpon Springs. So the Friendly Fisherman is floating once again. It is not out of the water. It will be worked on this week. We were waiting on a final couple parts to come in. And then once those parts come in, the boat's back together, it will be heading home. We've got a few items to wrap up still. We're trying to finish up the decks. We got a little bit more final touches on the painting to do. But this Red Snapper announcement threw a big old wrench into our dry dock plans. We were hoping the boat was going to be coming back into service, fully painted, and everything all done that we wanted to get done. But with Red Snapper season being announced, we're kind of rushing things a little bit. So we're going to cut about a week and a half, 2 weeks off of dry dock time. So because of that, not everything will be done the way we want it to get done. So we'll still be chipping away at it through November, December, January. When we get bad weather and we can't go fishing, we'll keep crews at the dock and we'll finish painting. So not going to be looking perfect when it comes back from dry dock. Decks will be messed up still, but hey, it is what it is. At least we'll be having trips for Red Snapper season. So got to pick your battles, folks. If you could only fish for one fish for the rest of your life, what would it be? Hands down, no questions, mangrove snapper. Inshore, near shore, offshore, probably it is my favorite fish to target and catch. One of my favorite eating fish. It's just a good all-around fun fish. They're they're leader shy, they're smart, and they're fast action. You can use light tackle for them. It's a lot of fun to target mangrove snapper. I've always, since being a little kid, enjoyed targeting mangrove snapper. Now that sometimes hurts me because, like, say on a 39-hour trip, I will limit out on mangrove snapper and I catch them really quickly, but I don't catch a lot of big fish because I'll be using lighter tackle and smaller baits targeting the mangrove snapper. So it kind of handicaps you to a point where someone like John Martin won't catch as many mangrove snapper, but he wins the jackpot all the time because he's primarily fishing bigger live baits, bigger dead baits, heavier tackle, and kind of a more old school patient approach, where I am not patient. I'm a very impatient fisherman. If I don't get a bite within a minute or two, I'm lifting my rod tip up, resetting my bait. I'm messing around with it, and I'm not patient enough to sit there and soak out a big live bait for 10, 15, 20 minutes for that one really big gag grouper that might bite. So it kind of depends on your style of fishing, and you got to find out what your style of fishing is. If you're like me and you're not as patient, using a little bit of lighter tackle and a higher gear ratio reel and a smaller chunk of thread fin and a double snell rig is a great way to target those mangrove snapper, catch more fish, have more action, and make it a lot of fun. But the person who catches mangrove snapper consistently and often is typically the best angler on the boat, because it really, really takes some focus and concentration and effort for sure. So someone asked about the top fan status. Top fan status, collaborators, all those tags, even supporters. We have zero control over Facebook. I can't tell you. I mean, I think it's been a half dozen times or more where people reach out to me all angry about either not being a supporter or being a supporter and they want to stop, or that their top fan badge is gone. I can't control Facebook. We have zero control over Facebook. If you choose to become a supporter and you subscribe, I can't edit your subscription. I can ban people from the page, but it doesn't stop Facebook from charging you for a subscription that you signed up for. You have to handle your subscriptions. As far as top fan or sharer or collaborator goes, those are tags that Facebook creates based on your interaction with the page. So if you're liking all our posts and commenting all the time, that's how you get the top fan badge. If it goes away, the only way to get it back is by liking and commenting on all the posts again. Unfortunately, we have zero control over that, and I apologize. But again, I do not control it, cannot edit it, cannot help you. I apologize. With no pinfish, would bonita be a good bait for the 10-hour trip? So today we had a 39-hour trip go out, and they were all pumped up, ready to go fishing, but we didn't have pinfish. So they came in the office and they bought sardines, and they bought cigar minnows, and they bought bonita, and they bought octopus and squid and all this stuff, and that's great. I mean, all that stuff works. That's why we have it. But a lot of times, live bait is an extra option. It's an extra option. You don't necessarily need it, and if you don't have live bait, buying more dead bait isn't necessarily the end-all, be-all. Now, granted, we have it, and we'll supply it to you, and I don't mind the extra purchase, but you definitely don't need it. The dead bait we provide works well. That's why we provide it. Now, sometimes having something a little different than everybody else does sometimes make a difference. I was talking to some customers today that went out on the 10-hour trip, and the fishing was a little bit tougher. And Will was the deckhand on that 10-hour trip, and Will was like, hey, man, you got that spinning rod. Why don't we tie you up a knocker rig, and you'll send down a thread fin chunk. Let me cut this up for you. And he sent down a thread fin chunk on a light knocker rig, and sure enough, he got to the bottom and he caught a nice big keeper mangrove. That's because he had something a little different than everybody else on the boat, little lighter tackle, and he had a different approach, and it caught him a nice mangrove snapper. It wasn't that his bait was any different than anybody else's, just the technique in which it was displayed to the fish was different, and that difference caused that fish to bite. So the same thing with bonita strips. If everybody on the boat's fishing with thread fins and squid, and you send down a bonita strip, sometimes that might be all it takes to get that big gag grouper or big whatever it is, mangrove snapper to bite. So you never know. So to answer your question, I don't like saying, oh yeah, bonita's going to work great, because sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. You just never know. You never know. Bonita does work well, though. I picked up a Shimano 22, so I'm not quite familiar with your reel, Ed. I saw that post in the supporters page, and I didn't have time to ask you, but I assume that's a Speedmaster. I know Shimano has the Talica series, and they have a 16 and a 20 and a 25. I think the photo I saw was a Speedmaster, but I'm not familiar with the sizes and their drag ratings. But I know your question was in reference to braid versus mono. Generally, with those nicer combos, like the Hubbard's Marina Bull Bay Rod Series and those high-end Shimano reels, when you have a nice combo like that, you really don't need braid. No one needs braid offshore fishing, unless you're fishing like 400, 500, 600 foot of water, or you like flatlining with your reel for pelagics, or if you're doing something unique like vertical jigging, you really don't need braid. Mono works, and for 95% of bottom fishing, I would use monofilament. I use braid on my high-speed reels just because a lot of times I'm also using them for flatlining or sometimes going deep water. You never know. So that's why I keep braid on my two-speed reels, but really mono works very well, and a lot of times I get out there and I regret having the braid on there, especially if you ever get a backlash or a tangle. Braided line is the way to go, mono is the way to go, and especially if you get hung in the bottom, it makes it a whole heck of a lot easier with monofilament compared to braided line. Can you go back to the question, because I think there was more to his question. What size hooks and weight should you use for red snapper season? So with that type of setup, which is similar to our custom Hubbard's Marina rod, except for our rod is either a 20 to 40 or a 30, I think it's 20 to 30 or 50 to 80. I forget off the top of my head all of a sudden. But our rods are very similar to the brute force rods, except for we had Bull Bay make the butts a little bit bigger so you have more leverage on your reel, foregrip a little longer so you have more room on the rail, and our tips are a little softer so you have more sensitivity with that bottom fishing setup. So with that setup, I'd probably go with 60 pound main line, 60, 80 pound main line, and probably a 60 pound leader, about a 6 to 8 ounce lead, and a 7/0 hook for red snapper season. That would be a good option there for that Speedmaster. Let's see, what other questions do we have? What size mono do you recommend for your 10-hour trip? Probably 40-pound test would be a good all-around for the 10-hour trip this time of year. Even 30-pound would work. 30, 40-pound, no more than 50-pound for a 10-hour all-day trip. On the 39-hour trip on October 16th and November 2nd, I know they will be targeting red snapper, but what else will be targeted? We will definitely be targeting mangrove snapper at night. Gag grouper is an option, and yes, during red snapper season, we're always going to be fishing a little deeper. They tend to be at least 150, 180, 200 foot of water to get good concentrations of larger red snappers. So yes, we will be fishing deeper primarily. And next question, do you sell slow pitch jigs in your shop? Not only do we sell them in our shop, but we also sell them in our online store. Josh is navigating there now. We have vertical jigs right on our online store. We have a whole variety of vertical jigs. And vertical jigs are all, it doesn't matter the jig, they're all slow pitch jigs. However, there are some jigs that are kind of deemed slow pitch jigs, like the Daiwa Saltiga SK jig series is considered a slow pitch jig. But the slow pitch jigging master himself, Benny Ortiz, stated, and this was mind-blowing to me, that every vertical jig is a slow pitch jig. It's just all about how you work it. It's not the make of the jig, it's about the motion of the jig. I was trying to go somewhere with that, but I made myself laugh, at least. That's what's important. Check out our online store. There's a bunch of vertical jigs there to answer your question. And we have them in the shop in person, too. What other questions do we have, Josh? Anything? There's no way we answered all those awesome questions. Yeah, kingfish belly is a great bait, similar to bonita. Kingfish belly is a unique one for sure. What is one fish you wouldn't like to catch? I never want to see another lionfish again. They're very good eating. I love eating them, but I would rather never see them again. Let's see. Sand issue. Psh. It's the never-ending sand issue. You guys have a really good show going on here. I appreciate that. That's awesome.
I like that guy.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Let's give him a hat.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll pay for it.
Let's see. We really did answer all these questions. Oh, where on the Skyway is best to fish off of, north or south end? I don't know, man. I would say probably south is what I've heard is best. A lot of the more serious anglers fish on the south side. I know they've got more mitigation sites around the south side and just south of the south side. With the closure of Red Grouper, did they say when it's planned to open back up? So Red Grouper will reopen January 1st. It's only an ACL closure. So an ACL closure is triggered when the allowable catch limit is projected to be met, and then it resets at the start of the next fishing year, which for Red Grouper is January 1st. I ordered pinfish for the 39-hour, and you canceled them due to red tide. Yes, we cannot catch pinfish. We were hoping to start catching pinfish again October 1st, but unfortunately with red tide making a resurgence in the area, we have not been able to catch pinfish. We're hoping to resume catching pinfish mid-October for the start of this extended red snapper season, but unfortunately we are kind of up in the air, in limbo, as far as whether or not that's going to be possible because of this red tide issue. So, what water depth do you start seeing keeper red snapper? We start seeing them anywhere from around 120 to about 130 foot. Generally, you can catch them as shallow as 80 to 100 foot of water. We catch them occasionally on our 10-hour trips, but you really start seeing keeper-sized red snapper with any sort of consistency around 120 foot of water. But we really start targeting them consistently on our trips at about 140 to 150 foot of water on average. Is a star or lever drag conventional reel good for trolling? Generally, we use 2-speed reels for trolling, and 2-speed reels only come in lever drag. So to answer that question, you definitely want a 2-speed reel, so you would have to use a lever drag, unfortunately. Remember, if you have a question you want answered, you got to text in the question to that phone number there. You can't write it in the comments, because it disappears on us too fast. We can't answer it if you write it in the comments. You got to text in your questions. Let's see. So the free trips we give away are not redeemable for red snapper season. Now, this extended red snapper season If you had the trip booked prior to the announcement being made, we're going to honor your gift certificate because you didn't know it was red snapper season when you booked. But now you know it's red snapper season, so the free trips are not available during red snapper season because everybody and their brother, for some reason, wants to catch these red snapper, and our trips get really busy and full, so we cannot honor those free trip giveaways, those donation gift certificates. What size rod and reel are needed to troll on a 5-hour half-day trip? Now, for a 39-hour, you need at least a 50 to 80 wide reel to troll. However, on a 5-hour half-day, you can troll with a 2-speed like Daiwa Saltiga, Shimano Talica, even a Shimano Talica 16 or a Daiwa Saltiga LD50 works. Smoky trolls with our 4-aught conventional Bass Pro Shop Seafire offshore angler reels. You can troll on a 5-hour with a much smaller reel generally. Yes, Josh, it is time to do another trip giveaway. I appreciate your super subtle reminder. He just, yeah, it was very subtle. I got the hint. All right, let's see who won a 5-hour half day. Actually, no. Let's see who won a 39-hour overnight fishing trip for one guest. 39-hour overnight fishing trip for one guest. Let's see who that lucky winner is. 39-hour for one guest. That's a $400 value. Wesley Foster watching from Northeast Florida. Uh-oh. We're going to see you soon, buddy. Remember what I just said. Congratulations, Wesley. Now you got to come back for another 39-hour trip in December. So congratulations. Or in January, February, March, April, May, anytime. It's good for up to a year from your winning date. So congratulations, Wesley, on that 39-hour overnight trip. On the 39-hour trip, can you use a spike to bleed your caught fish? You can definitely bleed your fish on a 39-hour trip. It just can get a little messy. So if you're going to do that, talk to the crew before you start doing that on the deck, because the crew has to collect up those fish and bring them down the deck. And I know if I was a crew member, when I used to work the 39-hour trip, if I had a guest that wanted to bleed their fish, I would get them a bucket so they could bleed their fish and leave them in a bucket, and then I would bring the whole bucket back to the fish box and string them, so that way I wasn't carrying a bled fish down the deck, dripping blood, and making more blood spots for me to scrub later on the trip. So just talk to the crew before you start doing that, or bring your own 5-gallon bucket and set it next to you and throw your fish in there before you bleed it. But yeah, we have no problem with you bleeding your catch. Just be courteous and mindful of others on the boat. You bleed something like an amberjack and leave it on deck, it's going to make a huge blood pool that is a slipping hazard. And let me tell you, from a crew member standpoint, it is not fun to scrub that at the end of a 39-hour trip after everybody's gone to bed and you're scrubbing the decks. The one guy who bled his fish on the deck, you're going to remember him. Whereas if you put it in a bucket, or you wait till that big amberjack is in the fish box, you walk back there and do your business in the fish box, then it's no big deal. And to be honest, Robert Miller, that's not true. Every fish can be bled. Like, you talk to my father, Captain Mark, if he's going to take the fish home to eat personally, he will bleed every fish that he catches. Now, if the bite's good, he won't, because he's focused on catching more of them. But a lot of times, even myself, I will, like if I'm cooking fish for my son, I will a lot of times bleed the fish because it makes the bloodline shrink. My wife, I want to try to make sure it's not any sort of fishy taste at all. So I want to try to bleed it to shrink that bloodline, and it makes the meat quality a lot better. So definitely bleeding fish is something you're more than welcome to do. All the crew members, actually none of them are watching my show, but if they are, they're cursing my name right now. Bleeding fish is definitely a great thing to do. Now, something like gray snapper on a half-day trip, no. But if you're on a 39-hour trip, I would bleed almost every fish that I brought aboard the boat. It really changes the game. One guest of ours from the UK taught me about an icky jimmy. So you can Google that, and don't ask me how to spell it, but it's a Japanese technique. Australia, it's really popular as well. It'll probably come up. I really don't think that's how you spell it. It's like a weird spelling. I think it's either it's something. It's something. I think it's Japanese, but basically the idea is you stone the fish right in the brain very quickly, and it totally removes the stress, and it really, really, really improves fish meat, I guess, quality. But it's specifically used in the bluefin tuna fishery. So when they bring those big bluefin tunas, because with that big bluefin tuna that's being sold for sometimes north of $1 million, that's a fish that a little bit of improvement on the meat goes a long way. So they bleed them. Like if you ever watched a wicked tuna, the first thing they do when them things come on board the boat is they dress the fish, which is basically, Catherine spelled it for us. Ikijimi. I knew it was something weird. Josh was really trying over there.
I was close.
He was getting a little left field on it.
I was close.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's pretty weird. You can Google it yourself because it gets pretty
graphic.
Very graphic. But the idea is similar to how they actually dispatch the cows. All your beef is dispatched the same way. It's to preserve the meat, to remove stress hormones or cortisol. If you lower the amount of cortisol in the meat quality improves, and it actually keeps better too. So bleeding the fish and using an ikijimi tool, or however you pronounce that, I'm probably pronouncing it super wrong, but using those methods are definitely a good way to go. Kevin McDowell, triggerfish. We've been used to and kind of conditioned to a triggerfish season that opens March 1st and closes like end of April, early May. So we've been used to like a 2-3 month catch levels for triggerfish. So this year we saw a triggerfish reopening when NOAA, National Marine Fisheries, released that updated rule. This year we should see triggerfish, or 2022, we should see triggerfish reopen March 1st. They should probably stay open all the way through the month of May. They may even reopen after their spawning closure in June and July, August 1st. So we will see triggerfish reopen, but they are closed due to their ACL being hit. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Is Captain Joe Drew running extreme trips in November? Yes. Captain Joe Drew and Captain Rich Golis run those extreme trips, and Joe and Rich have already talked about November, December, hunt and gag grouper. They're both excited about that, so definitely Captain Joe is going to be running some extreme trips. Tomorrow, we've got Captain Rich, me, Captain Joe, my dad. We got a bunch of us going out. Unfortunately, Garrett can't come, but there's going to be a bunch of us on that boat tomorrow going out fishing for gag grouper, mangrove snapper, and more, hunting some amberjacks and doing some exploring and a lot of filming. So some cool videos coming tomorrow for sure. All right, let's see. What other questions? Are you all planning to bring back the 63-hour trips? No, absolutely not. We have multiple boats in the area that offer deep drop fishing, and it's kind of their way to compete in the industry, in the marketplace. we do what we do very, very well. And the 63-hour trips are great. They're a great offering. We do them well too. We go out there and catch plenty of fish, but it makes us cancel like multiple trips. And if it's at all adverse, if it's 3.5 foot, you can't do a 63-hour trip. But we've just canceled a 39-hour trip and 2 half-day trips to offer that 63-hour that we've now canceled because the weather was a little bit adverse. So the 63 hours really screw up our schedule, and they really upset a lot of people because we basically cancel at least 2 half days, if not 3 or 4 half days, and a 39-hour trip in which we could have potentially taken like 130 people out fishing. We've canceled those people to put in a 63-hour trip that only allows up to 18 people to go. And then if it's 3.5 foot, we could have ran 4 half days and an overnighter, but instead we cancel a 39 or a 63-hour. We're all sitting at the dock. Captain's not making money, crew's not making money, company's not making money, and we've literally just, instead of making 140 people happy, we've let down 18 people. And you have to invest a lot of energy, time, and money to plan for one of those 63-hour trips. So when we cancel those due to weather, we generally have very upset people. So it just was a lose-lose for the company, for our captains, for our crew, and it's not something we're going to do. We have 2 boats now. Another boat moved into Marco that offers trips like that, and they can fight over it down south. We do what we do well, and we're going to stick to it. So I know there's a boat up in Tarpon Springs that does deep drops. There's 2 boats to our south that does deep drops. Like everybody and their brother with a 6-pack boat does deep drops now. So, and unfortunately, it's starting to close. Now, why would we expand into 63-hour trips where they just closed silk snapper, ham bones, queen snapper? This next year, deepwater grouper is going to close. They're down to 1 snowy per boat in the South Atlantic. In the Gulf, it's coming soon. So it's definitely coming to a head in the deep water in the Gulf of Mexico. So definitely not going to focus on expanding our offerings and market in a deep water fishery that we know is not looking promising for the future. So that's where we're going. Gulfstar is pretty good. There are other boats in the Gulf of Mexico. I think Hubbard's Marina is pretty great, though. But if you want to do deep drops, there's other boats to choose from. What other questions? I say you give away one person to go with you tomorrow. If there was room, that was actually on my mind. I was going to give away a spot on the boat tomorrow. But unfortunately, there's no room left. But we're planning on doing these filming trips once a month. And now I've discovered if I plan it to where I have to go, then it's like an excuse for me to go fishing. So definitely going to be planning one of these a month that I have to go on. And it's going to be like a fun captain and crew trip. So this is my excuse to go fishing once a month. So these will be happening much more often, maybe twice a month. I like this idea. All right. I don't see anybody else texting in questions. Remember, in order for us to answer your questions, you got to text them in. If you comment your question, they disappear. We can't see them. Do we have one more question before we end the show? Josh. Well, Wesley Foster, your number is invalid. We cannot text you back. You keep texting us, but it won't let us text you back because it's saying your phone number is invalid. So, yeah, he must be on the website and he must have misentered his phone number. But send us another message, Wesley, because Wesley Foster, your number is invalid. We see your messages. We cannot respond to you. Yes, we are still on for the tattoo of our logo. If you get that tattooed on your body in a space below your sleeve line from your hairline to your neckline, or somewhere from the knee to your ankle that would be in view if you wore a t-shirt and shorts, you get a free 39-hour trip. And someone wanted to know, if they get 2 of them, do they get 2 free 39-hour trips? And yeah, you get a neck tattoo, you get 3 39-hour trips.
What about a face tattoo?
You get a face tattoo, that's 5.
5 free trips? You better be careful, because there's some people that'll do it.
Someone gets a face tattoo of
They got to get the address. Logo. They got to get the email or the phone number as well. I mean, that's 2 tattoos.
You got to have the square logo on one cheek and the website on the other cheek. Oh, that'd be awesome.
I'll pay for a regulars club for them.
Seriously, I don't have a single tattoo.
Neither do I.
A single tattoo. Before I had children, I was seriously considering getting the Hubbard's Marina logo tattooed on my chest.
You got to get it on the same
above
side
my
of your
heart
shirt,
of
though.
all things. It's embarrassing to admit that now.
Wow!
Now that I've grown up and had children, I was like, I can't believe I wanted to do that.
Let's be thankful that you didn't do it, because
right?
you know Smokey's back tattoo.
Yeah, Smokey has a tramp stamp. Can we talk about that for a minute? Show's supposed to be ending, but Smokey.
Do I have a picture of it?
Yeah, the Smokey we all know and love. He has a tramp stamp. It's a gag, or it's a black grouper. It's a true black grouper on his lower back. That's Smokey. But you can't really see it anymore. It was when he was super young, so it's kind of faded. But sometimes when he picks up that gray snapper off the deck, his shirt comes up a little bit. You can see it. You can see it. You can see it. So keep an eye out.
Long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, long. There's nothing to see, Lisa. It's kind of just a blurry mess now. But
it is
not.
Like one of them old
it is
school
not
tats.
because he hasn't showered. That is a old tattoo in his lower back.
I'll tell you this: all of my siblings, my mom, my dad, all tattoos. Me, no tattoos.
Yeah, I don't have a tattoo.
They're like, why? I'm like, I don't know. I just never got a tattoo. Never really was like,
in our generation, it's almost weird not to have a tattoo.
Yeah, it's like, what, you don't have a tattoo? Yeah. Sorry, I ain't got lip piercings and my ears are gauged.
Yeah, it's crazy. I want to see the tattoos. And people are saying they'll get them. We'll see.
We're gonna lick it. Well, I mean, we'll have like some rubbing alcohol to make sure it's real. You know.
Yeah. We got to test it. Josh says he's gonna lick it. That's just weird, but
I mean,
we'll test it with something other than licking it.
Hopefully, it's not a scratch and sniff.
All right,
we have a 5-hour giveaway.
Yeah, we have one more giveaway to do. Let's find out who won a 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Don't forget, guys, we've got the supporters after show after this. So if you are one of our Hubbard's Marina supporters on Facebook or Instagram, don't forget to attend the supporters after show. Want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Yamaha, Bass Pro Shops, Salt Strong, Salinity, Engel Coolers. Appreciate you guys, and our partners over at The Real Animals. Thank you all for being sponsors, supporters, friends of us here at Hubbard's Marina, especially our friends at Engel Coolers. Even though they hired someone like Mike Dixon to run the place, it's still a pretty great company. So shout out to Engel Coolers. And hopefully we'll see you all soon here at Hubbard's Marina. Hopefully we'll see you for our supporters after show. Don't forget, every week right here for the Hubbard's Marina live show. Don't forget to tune in this Saturday and next Saturday too. Captain Mike Anderson, he must trust me or something. He's letting me drive the bus on the old radio show. Next 2 weekends in a row, I'm by myself, in control, at the helm of the Real Animals radio show. Saturday morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you tune in so when the boss is away, we have more fun. So make sure you tune into the Real Animals radio show every weekend, but the next 2 weekends are special. Let's see who won that 5-hour half day for 2 guests. That is a $130 value going to Chris Harwell, or Chris Harrell. See, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Chris, congratulations. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for being fans and fishing friends of us here at Hubbard's Marina. Hopefully, we'll see you all soon out there on the water. Tight lines, and we'll see you on the water.